The name is Sibusiso Rantwabe. I'm the manager for Occupational Health and Safety and Maritime Welfare at SAMSA. The unit looks after the compliance regime under the Maritime Occupational Safety regulations, which are regulation under the Merchant Shipping Act. We ensure compliance within the ship repair industry and the stevedoring industry. It's a national competency. One might ask, what is stevedoring? Stevedoring, the role is to ensure that cargo is safely packed on board the vessel, or you can say safely loaded. It might be containers, it might be bulk cargo. There are also the people who land the cargo from the vessel onto the quayside. So we are here today for what we term is Stevedore, SAMSA Stevedore quarterly safety committee meetings. We used to hold these meetings on a quarterly basis before pre-COVID. However, we got started during that period. We've commenced again with these meetings. For now, we will be holding them twice a year per port due to cost containment measures. We've already had a session in the Port of East London. We've already had a session in the Port of Richards Bay. We are here in Cape Town today. Cape Town is combined with Saldanha Bay. Basically, you have your Stevedore companies, you have your Transnet Port Authority, Net Port Terminal, as we try to work together to ensure the compliance regime. Stevedoring industry in South Africa are licensed by the Transnet National Port Authority. We currently have plus minus 30 companies across the country. Most of them are national. Some specialize in different types of cargo, so they may be containers, some break bulk, but specialization is very, very limited. People mostly will do everything. These meetings were established since the unit is a small unit, and we have limited resources at SAMSA with the scope that we have, the mandate that we have. So this meeting helps us get closer to the industry. We create a buddy system as well. So where we on a quarterly basis, we discuss safety issues around the ports that happen around the country, new developments, new standards, incidents, lessons learned from incidents, and just to ensure that we are closer to each other. And it has worked very well as creating this buddy system. When we are here, we will share the incidents, we share what we've seen around the port around the country without actually embarrassing anyone, because the biggest aim is to ensure that we learn from these incidents and we improve safety. Issues also that are raised by the authorities, and then there will be issues that are raised by the industry. You have issues ranging to potholes in the port, ablution facilities, some of the issues outside the mandate of SAMSA, but they feel comfortable to bring in this platform. We then forward these issues to the relevant department within the port, and we've been working very well with the port, whether it's the engineering department, and then in the following meeting, we're able to come back and resolve this issue. Most of the issues we bring together, as SAMSA, we're able to bring the industry and our colleagues, the NTT, TNPA together, and we solve these issues. Because we, as SAMSA, we're not just here as a safety authority. We have another bigger mandate to ensure that we promote the industry, we assist where we can in the growth within the industry. TNPA, we collaborate. We need each other. When we see things that they can assist us with, we inform them. When they see things within the port that they cannot intervene, as it's not within their mandate, they will forward to SAMSA. So we have this even at national level. We have these meetings even further entrenched that on all the ports, We also have our own meetings separate with TNPA and TPT, where we try, because we're looking after the same thing. We have interest in the industry. We also have interest in the safety of property and the people. So we try to work as closely as possible. So we have the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which is applicable to any workplace. However, if you look in the Occupational Health and Safety Act, in the description of the workplace, it's clear there that it excludes ships which are under the Merchant Shipping Act, whether the ship is in or out of the water, talking floating cranes and anything that floats. So the OSH Act is very clear that it doesn't get involved when it comes to issues or incidents that occur on the vessel. So the regulation or the act that is applicable is the Merchant Shipping Act, and there's a regulation called the Maritime Occupational Safety Regulation of 1994. The moment you step onto the gangway of a ship or the accommodation ladder, you come under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And we all know that SAMSA is a custodian of the Merchant Shipping Act. So any regulation under the Merchant Shipping Act will also fall under SAMSA. So SAMSA is involved for purposes of ensuring safety of life on board. However, when it comes to issues of compensation, Department of Labor is still involved only for issues of compensation. But safety investigation, reporting of incident is all done by SAMSA. Unfortunately, the workers in this industry are not very organized. It's something that probably as SAMSA we would like to see. We don't have we don't have facility where we can, or organization that we can say legitimately represent the workers. We have been approached recently by some of the workers. However, it's very difficult when somebody is only talking for a few groups. So we encourage them to organize themselves. It will be better. They come to us with really some interesting issues. However, we can't help on individual basis. We help as an individual, but it will help us if they are organized. Like the employers are organized. We can talk to employers like this. But what we've also tried to do is to say, we know in these meetings we have people higher up, whether it's from supervisors to management. And sometimes when we're on board the vessel, we get frustrated that the message doesn't filter down to the workers. We've then started an awareness campaign where we go around companies and we interact with the foremen, the supervisors. And it has worked very well, and find workers are able to come and raise issues. But the workers, they know we're also there for them in terms of safety. They are not afraid to come to our office. So but if they were to be organized, obviously that will be much better. Then conduct compliance audits every 2 years, where we visit the company in their premises. We will give them a notification of the scope of what we're going to look for. Basically, it's compliance with the Maritime Sector regulations. So we do this so that everything that we see when we visit the vessel, we can actually compare. We can actually go to the workshop and check on the equipment that is used on board the vessel. We can go through the list of employees and randomly check if they've been issued PPE, they've undergone induction, and the company is also in good standing with COIDA. Case of injuries, record keeping, investigation of injuries, and closing out report. So we do that every 2 years. We try to cover everyone. Sometimes we not as accurate in terms of levels of capacity, but we try to not go more than 3 years.
Just one more question for clarity purposes on stevedoring. Is stevedoring limited to coastal areas? Because I ask this question for two reasons. One, you do get vessels in inland waters, all right? Our boating unit is responsible for promoting boating safety, but that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Now, you said some of these companies, there are about 30 of them. Some are national. When you say national, do you mean national as in terms of South Africa's coastline, or are they national including inland waters?
Yes. When I say national, I mean in terms of coastal. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we're not that developed. We don't have cargo operations within our inland waterways. However, if you go to the west, you find that they have river ports. Then we will have stevedores. Stevedores are not employed by Transnet, are not employed by the shipping company. These are independent companies. Their job is just to load and offload cargo on board the vessels.
Final question is on transformation. We are in our 28th year in the new democratic dispensation. And the ocean's economy is only becoming popular generally in our communities since about 2014? How diverse is the stevedoring business sector?
Yeah, I wouldn't have the proper statistics because sometimes I would, but in terms of employment, it's very diverse. And remember, it's labor intensive, still very labor intensive with all the developments, containerization, etc. However, it's still very labor intensive. So when you look at in terms of labor, it's diverse. However, in terms of ownership, I wouldn't be 100% sure, but to my knowledge, from what I have seen from on my database, I think there's only 2 companies that are owned by Africans, and then the broader term of if you include Indians, colors, then the number goes up significantly. Over the last few years, 5 years or so, you've seen a lot of people. Remember in 2008, when we experienced recession, you find that a lot of people lost their jobs and people started coming and opening their own company. This was not by design, this transformation in this industry. People found themselves without jobs, with all the experience, and then they started opening their own companies. So we've seen the picture changing post that, yeah.
The final one for me, it goes back to the health and safety aspects, which I think are very highly prioritized at SAMSA. Because they are about, safety of people and property at sea, as you illustrated. In your presentation, you shared some statistics that seem to indicate what the trends are. How safe are people in this industry, and how well are they observing the legislation and regulations that are related?
Yeah, we have challenges, but with a dedicated unit, we improve. The picture used to be much worse. And since the nature of this job is by its nature, it's very highly labor intensive. It's very dangerous. You're working at height. You have cargo overhead. You are on a ship, but it's not stable. So you have a lot of those injuries working at height, and 2 different programs we've worked to reduce the number of injuries and casualties and fatalities. So, which is unfortunate if we do. If you can look in 2017 with 2 fatalities, 2018 2, but after that we've I think 1 2019 and nothing in the last 2 years, which is very positive. That's what we would like to see. Also, there is the interest with the company. This kind of meetings, they do help to sensitize the companies. There is a willingness to comply. Also, there are challenges with the industry because most of the workers are not permanent workers. They're labor workers. You get called to a job after you've been at home for 2 months, and then you're working on a very dangerous environment. So you need somebody who's always alert, who's always, tuned to the job. So those are the kind of challenges we face, but we feel there is always that willingness from the companies to comply.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure we will be back because this is an interesting part of the maritime industry that few people know about. We will need to know your schedule, for example, And because I do know that there are certain areas that you want to focus on periodically. We'll come back for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.